ladies and gentlemen. Let's get ready to rumble!
Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a man. I took up the world. I took up the world. I bear witness there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the bungle fight. Thanking you.
You call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Split Decision, episode 82. With me today, I have a very, very special guest, the one and only Jose Benavidez Sr. How you doing, Jose?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for the interview. I want to thank all the fans also for all the support, man. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure having you on Split Decision. Thank you for having David Benavidez show up on Split Decision as well last 2 weeks. With that being said, we have a lot of questions for you. I know you just got to the hotel, so have you arrived in Miami? Is that where's the fight at?
You know what? Let me try to move a little bit here. I think I get a little echo now, and I can't really hear. So let me see if I can find a better spot.
Yeah. Is there an echo still? Is there an echo?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly. Is there an echo on my end?
Yeah, no, I can hear you now. Good, really good. So I don't know if it's me or it's you, but now I can hear you.
Yeah, I think it's perfect now. So you just arrived at the hotel. Is it in Miami, or did you arrive with David Benavidez for the Ronaldo Ellis fight?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, not really. Now I can hear you a little bit better, I think. How's that?
Yeah. Hold on. 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, I hear an echo.
Okay. How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Good.
Without an echo?
I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So obviously, I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties, but I have Jose Benavidez with me. David Benavidez is fighting Ronaldo Ellis March 13th. So how preparation been going for David Benavidez?
Everything's been going well, man. He looks better than ever. He looks very strong. We had the weigh-ins yesterday. He came at 164.9 yesterday. For everybody that doesn't know, this fight's going to be an eliminator now. On March 13, Anthony Durrell is fighting this Saturday, also for a eliminator, also for the WBC. So I think that's going to be a mandatory. Whoever wins out of the winners of these two fights is going to fight mandatory for Canelo Alvarez.
So David Benavidez is at 164 right now. Did I hear that correctly? Did you say he's at
yes. No, right now he's at one. What is it? 170. 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, but 70. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we hear you, Jose. He'll be right back. Most likely, someone called him while he was on the phone with me. Hold on, let me text him. So we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said before, I don't know if I told you guys, but 2 weeks ago I got my wisdom teeth removed. They were bothering me because they were on a horizontal angle, so I had to take a couple weeks off. But now we back on the map, waiting on Jose Benavidez to get back. We have a lot of questions for him, from the Canelo Alvarez to the Charlo fight, and now he's in a title eliminator supposedly for Canelo Alvarez belt. When David Benavidez really should be fighting Canelo right away, because obviously he was the champion. He only lost the belt because he miscalculated weight his last fight. With that being said, just give me a few minutes, guys, and let me read the chat. Shout out to Jones, Davis, Jose Diaz, and everybody in the chat.
So be good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you perfectly.
All right, man. I think we got it.
No, there's no echo on my end.
No more. Yeah, everything looks good, man.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, yeah. So you said what weight is David Benavidez? Because it's still a couple weeks. It's still a couple weeks.
Yeah,
till...
you know what? This morning we were supposed to weigh in. Like I said, I don't know if you guys heard me, but he's going to be fighting for the eliminator. For the WBC. Anthony Durrell also is fighting for the eliminator also. So the winner of that, it's a mandatory to fight for the WBC. Maybe Canelo. So he weighted at 175.9 this morning. 74.9. I'm sorry, 174.9.
That's good. So you guys are preparing ahead, because obviously fighting in the bubble, you don't get access to so many different things like you usually do.
No, you know what? We had a bad experience last time, so now we're prepared. There's no excuse this time, and I think we got everything covered this time.
Right. Now, what's your take on Eddie Hearn? He came out and said that Caleb Plant should fight David Benavidez. That way, it kind of forces Canelo to fight the winner of that fight. What's your thoughts on that?
I think I think that's a great idea. We definitely should fight. I don't see why Caleb Plant is going to sit around and wait for that Canelo fight. It might not happen. He has Yildirim, he has Sanders, and then he might probably be fighting Triple G. So I think we should fight, and the fighter of that should fight Canelo.
Well, this is what Caleb Plant had to say. He said, of course, he felt like he can just jump in the line again and get a world title fight. In his eyes, he feels like he's going to beat me and then get a Canelo fight. But boxing doesn't work that way. He had his opportunity. What do you think about him claiming that David Benavidez already had an opportunity and he went
at this point, there's no need to be chasing Caleb Plant. We got other plans right now. Right now we just gotta look impressive. We gotta look really good on March 13, and little by little, we'll get to these guys. David's a two-time world champion. Why not? Everybody wants to see that fight. We can fight without a belt. If he doesn't want to fight for the belt, he can keep the belt. But we got to give the people what they want. We got to give them good fights. If he doesn't want to fight, there's other fighters that want to fight. We'll wait, no problem. We'll stay busy. But I believe that these are the type of fights that fans want to see. And in order, everybody wants to fight Canelo, but I feel that we got to work hard and we got to show the people that David's back, and he has to look impressive in order to get to those big fights.
Well, it is personal for David Benavidez, because he personally told me if Canelo beats Caleb Plant, he still want to fight Caleb Plant, right? So, what happened?
Bad or no belt.
Right. What happened? I saw a little scuffle between Caleb Plant and your son. What was going on there? What's the history? And why doesn't Caleb Plant solve it in the ring?
He just has a big mouth, man. He wants to make people believe that he's the best. Don't get me wrong; he's a really good fighter, but he's very disrespectful. And we're here to show the people and give the people what they want. And he's always just talking a lot of crap, man. And he says that he wanted to fight David, and we didn't want to fight him. So come on, man. We've been chasing him for years to make that fight happen. I think it's going to be a difficult fight. He's a difficult fighter. He's a very good fighter, but we just got to see who's the best at 168, and that is the problem. He's always talking a lot of stuff, and I mean, belt or no belt, like I said, let's make this happen.
David Benavidez and Caleb Plant both fight on PBC. You will think the fight is easy to get made because they are on the same network.
I'll tell you right now, man. I've been doing everything I can to talk to his manager. I work with the same promoter. At the end of the day, the fight, the manager or the promoter is not going to make Caleb Plant fight. He has to win that fight. I think it's an easy fight to make, but we're not going to sit here and wait forever. I already reached up to them and I told them, let's make this fight happen. He doesn't want to take that fight, so nobody can make him take that fight. I got excited when Charlo was going to go out to 168, up to 168. Super excited, but I knew that fight would be a 50-50 fight with Charlo also. And he just big mouth too, He just said that he wanted to fight, and then he's making a lot of excuses now with the Vicene, and he will not fight somebody under 25 and all these things, man. So we're here to fight, man. We're here to show the people what David has, and we just want to advance and make history, and we'll fight anybody, anybody, Berlanga, Plant, Charlo, whoever is there, we just want to show the people that David deserves to fight all these guys, and these are top level fighters.
Yes, sir. Now, when it comes to Jermall Charlo, like you said, he said that David Benavidez is young and dumb, and he's gonna knock him out. But a few moments later, he said he gotta take the vaccination, and he ain't fighting nobody under 25. What's your thoughts on them comments?
Well, I mean, there's no science to this. He's afraid. He thought we were gonna run or not take that fight, but that's the fight we want to take. That's a big risk for us. He's a tough fighter. He's one of my favorite fighters, and I love seeing them. Every time they fight, I watch their fights. They hit hard. They're super good fighters, but at the end of the day, we're here at 168, and we got to prove ourselves also by taking those big fights. We want to make exciting fights like Oscar Valdez and Berchelt. When that fight started, I couldn't even sit down because it was exciting all the way from the first round to when it ended. So we want to have those kind of fights so we can prove ourselves.
Right. And me personally, I thought he was playing when he said that at first, but then he said on another live, he said, "What's wrong with the vaccination demand?" So, it leads me to believe he's serious. Like, he's not joking when he says, David Benavidez needs to take the vaccination, but it's a demand we never heard before.
Yeah, have you heard that Top Rank, their last show was, that's it. That was the last bubble. That's it. No more. The next shows are not going to have the bubble anymore. So I don't see a problem. Why not make that fight? Let me tell you something interesting too. What happened with Canelo when David was a champion? We wanted to fight Canelo. He did not want nothing to do with David. As soon as David lost that belt, Canelo called the WBC to fight for that belt. Right. So now, if David had that belt, he wouldn't be doing nothing at 168. But there's another problem right there. If David's so easy, and if David, can't beat him, and he's very easy to beat, why not make that fight? I think that would be a very interesting fight, fighting David Benavidez with those top fighters. So let's make these fights happen, man.
Yes, sir. Now we know David, there's no secret. David Benavidez is the boogeyman at 160 for sure. Now Jermall Charlo, obviously, he said that he was going to move up to 168 to fight Canelo and even to fight David Benavidez. That's what he said last year. But all of a sudden, a month ago or a couple weeks ago, he said, "I'll fight David Benavidez at a catch weight. I'm not a 160 pounder." What's your thoughts on him now wanting to fight your son at a catch weight?
You know, this fight, David has no problem doing 168, and we'll show it on March 13th. We could definitely do a catch, you know, but we could go 3 pounds or two or whatever, I mean, if he's really serious about it. But this guy is a clown, I don't think even if we do that, he's gonna try to look for other excuses. Let's make this happen, man. Charlo, if you're watching, let's make this fight happen, man. It's gonna be an interesting fight, man. There's gonna be no losers in this fight. The fans are the ones that are gonna win, because no matter what, let's show the fans what they want to see, and at the end of the day, we'll both make history, and if we continue to stay focused and dedicated to this game.
Well, last year, I'm pretty sure you are aware, Charlo said that he's gonna move up to 168 and knock out your son. He's gonna knock out David Benavidez. This year, he changed his mind. What happened? What's the change? What happened in between that all of a sudden, as soon as David Benavidez put a date on it, that got Charlo to change his mind?
I want to know too what happened, Charlo. What happened? We're still waiting here. We're willing to make that fight. That fight could be made easy. I heard he's his own promoter. We don't have no problem, I mean, his own manager or whatever. I think I don't know, but something like that. We can make this fight happen easy right away. Imagine this fight could be a big fight, and would definitely the winner would definitely get a chance to fight Canelo.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I do want to ask you, because you did mention something about the title eliminator the WBC brought up. Will that come in the way or between the Jermall Charlo fight if they order the Anthony Dirrell fight? Or you guys could put that aside and make the Jermall Charlo fight, because that's a big fight?
At this point, man, to be honest, belts are okay, and they're good to have. But at the end of the day, how do you make history? By fighting good people, man, and making really good fights. I believe, that's what people want to see. At the end of the day, we just want to give the people really good fights with really good fighters, that are up there, undefeated fighters, tough fighters, and that's what we want. And if, like I say, we can fight now, we can fight later, whenever he wants. But we're not going to be waiting for him to finally accept that fight. We're still going to continue looking at spectacular. That's the plan. Work hard, stay focused, and just keep going for opportunities. Whoever wants to come and fight, we're open. We're not dodging anybody. We're here to fight, and we are here to show the world what David has. He's looking super strong. He looks like a monster right now. He's unbelievable, man. So that's why are here now. He's at his prime right now. So right now is the time to fight anybody at this point.
That's the fight that the world want to see. David Benavidez versus Jermall Charlo is must see TV. So like you said, you don't think the belt matter at the end of the day. So the WBC title eliminator for Canelo, you guys aren't really too concerned with that. You guys will prefer a Jermall Charlo fight. Is that what?
Yeah, you got to be honest right now. Canelo has Yildirim, then he has Sanders, and then maybe a possibility with Triple G or Caleb Plant. Why even focus on that? We'll just stay dedicated and keep working hard. And if somebody gets injured, we could go in there. But right now we got to prove ourselves. We know that we got to prove ourselves in order to get Canelo. Everybody wants to fight Canelo. Canelo is the face of boxing. He's a great fighter. He's, the best pound for pound. Everybody wants to fight with them. But like I said, we're patient. We're not desperate. We're just staying focused, working hard, and those opportunities will come pretty soon.
And how you feel, because you're obviously under the WBC, with that title eliminator, you're obviously going to fight. Your son is going to fight Anthony Dirrell, someone he already beat. So it's like going backwards, because even if David Benavidez becomes Canelo Alvarez mandatory, Canelo could easily activate or petition for franchise and avoid his mandatory.
Exactly.
So all that for waste. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, he could do all that, but it's not going to look good for the people once he vacates or asks for the franchise. I think if the people ask for that fight, he's going to have to fight David. sooner or later he's going to have to fight. Like you said with Anthony Durrell, I don't like that fight. We already beat him. We have nothing to prove. But at the end of the day, if he's there, I mean, we're going to have to fight him and look even more impressive. David's not the same when he fought him, and we know what he's going to do. So I think this will be a stoppage even faster than last time. But right now we're concentrating on Ronald Ellis on March 13th. David can't just win a fight like Caleb Plant did. He has to look impressive in order to look for those big fights with Canelo or Charlo or maybe Daniel Jacobs or any of those guys that are up there. I think we just gotta keep working, look impressive, and just keep grinding.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do have a super chat for you. I want to get out of the way. Salute Aki and Jose. What do you think of the talks of Ward possibly coming back to 168 or 175? Would David take that fight with Andre Ward?
Listen, if he's hearing this, and the Ward, he's another one of my favorite fighters. He's very intelligent, a really good fighter, man. It would be a pleasure to be in the ring with him. It's a tough fight also, but I think, that with all my respect, Ryan, it's like 37. Maybe I'm mistaken. Don't take me for that, but he already did everything that he had to do in boxing, in my opinion. With all the respect, like I said, David's a young lion, and I think that would be a very interesting fight. Somebody that has a lot of experience with somebody young, that would put us in a good position also. So see, those are the type of fights that we're looking for. Those big challenges with those people that have all that experience and they've done a lot in boxing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would be a lovely fight. And Andre Ward is definitely a legend. And obviously, you mentioned Canelo Alvarez. You said he pound for pound number one. Well, how do you feel about pound for pound number one, fighting a fighter coming off a loss and 2-year layoff? This week, he's fighting Avni to defend David Benavidez WBC title. What's your thoughts on that?
We were going to fight this guy like about 3 times. One time he got injured. The other time, I don't know what happened. That was another fight we were looking forward. He's a very good fighter, very strong fighter. But, to me, I don't think he has to beat Canelo. He just comes forward. He throws a lot of punches. I believe that Canelo's going to stop him maybe like in 4th, 5th round. He's going to come and, it's a perfect fighter for Canelo. Canelo, I think he's going to try to use his defense, move, block, and catch him with something, Yildirim he's going to want to prove something, he's going to come and go to war and he's going to leave himself open. And Canelo's very smart at countering. So I think he's going to catch him early, maybe like around, like I said, maybe 4, 5, somewhere around there. Now, if Yildirim decides to fight and move a little bit, that will give Canelo a little bit more problems. But at the end of the day, I think with all the respect, in my opinion, and that's what I think, I don't know everything. If I knew everything, I would bet on Canelo. But I don't. Things happen. Look what happened with Berchelt and Oscar Valdez. Things just happen. Ryan Garcia got dropped and got up with a lot of heart and beat this other guy, also his opponent. So a lot of things could happen in boxing. But that's what I think is going to happen with Yildirim and Canelo.
Well, it's going to take a miracle for Avni to pull that one off.
I think so, but anything can happen in the ring.
Right. Now, Canelo was never interested in the WBC title when David Benavidez held the title.
Never.
And so he never reached out to David Benavidez or to you guys to make the fight at any point, right?
And we did call him, hey, listen, let's fight, for WBC title. He was never interested, but once David lost that belt, right away he called, and I mean, look at him. It's not his fault, he's doing his team is doing a great job, and the opportunity was there. He took it, and I think he could beat all these guys at 168 right now, except David. David, I think, is younger, bigger, and stronger.
Well, it was reported that Canelo called or requested the WBC to make the Avni fight, to order the Avni fight for the WBC title. So it was kind of his decision. What's your thoughts on Canelo personally requesting Avni to fight for the WBC title of David Benavidez?
At the end of the day, this is business, man. I mean, he did whatever. I mean, he did a good move there. His whole team and him. I mean, I don't blame him for it. But at the end of the day, this is business, and Canelo could do whatever he wants right now in the world of boxing. Any organization would love to have him and give him the opportunity. If he goes to heavyweight, they'll do that for him. They'll find somebody that's on the way out, and he could do anything he wants at this point. And we've seen that before, fighting Kovalev at 175. I mean, jumping all these weights. I mean, why didn't he fight somebody in his prime at 175? But I mean, Canelo could do whatever he wants right now at this point.
Yeah, but as pound for pound number one, wouldn't you say pound for pound number one? Wouldn't
I would give him, at the end of the day, he's doing a good job. To me, he bad or good, he has gone up to different divisions. And, at the end of the day, they've been doing a good job on his career. And I mean, who wouldn't want to be where he's at right now? And that's the reason I give him, pound for pound, the best right now, because he looked really good against all these guys, like I said. But these guys were guys that were on the way out. They didn't even look good. They didn't even, I mean, when he fought Kovalev, he made it look super easy. Kalen Smith, he made it look so super easy too. So, I mean, it's not his fault. Like I said, and I will give him pound for pound. He deserves that, and they're doing a great job. And I mean, I would look dumb if I say that, I mean, he's not doing a good job.
Yeah, he's doing a good job being selective. That's for sure.
His team and everybody.
Right. So what's your thoughts on legendary fighters, their criticism over Canelo for not fighting fighters in their primes? Morales, Barrera, Chavez Sr., they want him to fight fighters in their prime more so than fighters, on the way out the door and things of that sort. As pound for pound number one, they want him to do more. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think right now, I think that if he would fight David and beat David, he will have all the respect, and he can beat all these other guys. Caleb Plant, I think he's going to stop him. Sanders, I think it's going to be a little bit harder because Sanders, it's a little bit stronger, a little bit more smarter, in my opinion. But that's the fight that it's a little bit not that easy. Maybe I would say, in my opinion, it will be maybe a 40-60, somewhere around there. But the fight that people want to see is David Benavidez. Why doesn't he want to fight David Benavidez? Because he knows that he's going to give him problems. That would be a 50-50 fight. It will be a really hard fight for us also, and it will be a hard fight for him. So why would he fight David? I mean, if he can fight all these other guys, I mean, look at him. He has a schedule already. What does that tell you? I mean, I never seen nobody he's fighting this guy, then he's going to fight this guy, and there's a possibility he's going to fight this guy. He already has 2 fights already made. I never seen that in my life of boxing. But why do you think that? Because they're so sure they're going to beat him, and I think he is going to beat him. But why not, after Yildirim, fight David Benavidez? And that would be a fight, and man, that nobody could say anything no more. Or, I don't think Charlo would come up to 168. That would even be another very exciting fight.
Well, I do have bad news for you, Jose, which is Canelo Alvarez did mention and say that I'm no longer going to fight Mexicans. He said, I'm not going to fight Mexicans anymore.
That sounds kind of familiar.
Yeah,
what Charlo said.
Yeah, but why all of a sudden Canelo is no longer fighting Mexicans?
Well, the only Mexicans he's talking about is David Benavidez. I mean, what else? I think that's the guy that he's trying to avoid. Like I said, I've been studying Canelo and Caleb Plant for almost 2-3 years because I thought I would fight one of these guys, and I think there's no secret to Canelo. For some reason, when somebody has a good jab, there's nothing he could do with that jab, and we've been working on that jab. changes those speeds, the levels, aiming to the chest, get him off balance so we could throw something, and what people do with Canelo, they just want to headhunt, so I mean that's why there's a reason he doesn't want to fight any Mexicans, because he knows that I mean that would with David would be a really tough fight. So I mean,
But
what other Mexicans is he talking about? Why?
yeah, but isn't it hypocritical though? Because Canelo did fight Mexicans before. I mean, Chavez Jr., I believe he Mexican. Jose at one, I think he was a 140 pounder. He moved up 2 weight divisions. He fought him. He was Mexican. I mean, I don't know if Angulo was Mexican, but he fought a lot of Mexicans in his career.
Yeah,
So
but
why
at
is
the
it?
end of the day,
Yeah,
who cares? What nationality are you? I mean, you just gotta fight whoever deserves and whoever worked really hard to get right there. You gotta fight the best. And here it doesn't matter what nationality are they in order to make history, and give the fans what they want to see. To me, we'll fight anybody. We don't care. I mean, if they're ready and if the people want to see it, and if it's going to be an exciting fight, why not?
well, there is a tradition of Mexican wars between legendary fighters, the likes of Barrera Morales, Marquez, so on and so forth. And we thought we was gonna have our version, between Benavidez, Canelo. We saw a great fight last week, Oscar and Perchel, excuse me. So, so is Canelo going to put a stop to that tradition because of having a dangerous Hispanic fighter in his division like David Benavidez?
Oh, and I think it's going to be. There's no secret, man. Canelo comes forward. He knows how to box a little bit, but David too. He's going to come forward. It's going to be fireworks, man. So why? That's why they don't want to take the fight, because they know it's going to be a something close to that. To Berchet and Oscar Valdez. It's going to be an exciting fight, and nobody's going to be a loser here. They're all the fans are the ones that are going to be winning at the end of the night.
Right. Now, obviously, in the sport of boxing, there's a lot of different organizations. But what are your thoughts on Canelo being able to to make an organization, order the organization to make a fight? What's your thoughts on that?
Like I said, man, Canelo could do whatever he wants. He's at a place right now that he could do whatever he wants. He has a lot of power. He could do whatever he wants in life, and come up with another belt or do whatever. I mean, he's making a lot of money. At the end of the day, sometimes money talks.
Well, speaking of that, David Benavidez did state on his own Instagram, he said Canelo doesn't give his opponents a fair shot or a fair share by sending them on a fight 4 weeks before the fight. He feels like that's not fair. You at least need 8 weeks to prepare for a fight. What's your thoughts on that?
You know what? At the end of the day, we learn a lot from what Canelo is doing, and we just got to stay ready. And that's something that has been working for him. Anybody would take a fight with Canelo. I mean, it doesn't matter. They're going to claim that they were training for 10, 12 weeks or whatever, and they'll take that fight because they know that they're going to make a lot of money. In our case, we just have to be ready for those opportunities, man. He's not going to catch us with 2-3 weeks of training or whatever, 4 weeks. We're staying busy, and we're going to maintain from now on. And I know that big opportunities. David knows that a lot of opportunities are going to come. Like I said, somebody's going to get injured or something happens, then we jump in. And that's what happens in boxing sometimes, I mean, there's opportunities every day.
Right. Well, the best way to catch Canelo or get him in the ring, you're going to have to corner him somewhere. But it's kind of hard to corner him knowing that he could activate the franchise. So how you guys could, kind of corner Canelo to a fight even if you become his mandatory, he still could become franchise, and obviously he could activate the franchise anytime he want. You see he didn't activate it with Avni. The purpose of the designation is to avoid unnecessary mandatories, but he didn't avoid the unnecessary mandatory with Avni. So how you planning to kind of corner Canelo in?
If Canelo fights, that would be great. If he doesn't fight, we don't care. At the end of the day, David's only 24 years old. the real king will be David at 168. So, I mean, he can leave the 168 or retire or go back to 160, but you can only do so much. I mean, if he keeps doing all these things, the people are going to know and they're going to demand that fight, and he's going to have to fight. Either he goes to another division or he fights David. I don't know if it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. So we're just catching him. We're getting to him little by little. We got to prove ourselves, and there's going to be a time where he's going to have to fight. He can't hide, but he can run, but he can't hide. So we're being patient. So like I said, if it happens, it happens. He's going to have to back that belt. He's going to have to leave it or go to another division. And I don't think it's going to look good for him to be in and make history.
Yes, sir. Now, how frustrating is it to be in your position, witnessing, like, for example, Canelo, he avoided his mandatory Jermall Charlo. Jermall Charlo won the WBC belt without fighting Canelo. Canelo basically surrendered the belt. And now, in 68, he repeated the same thing with your own son. And then we think we have a mega fight on our hand between Charlo and David Benavidez, and all of a sudden the vaccination come into play and all these other things. How frustrating is it to push for the best fights and still get nowhere?
Do I look frustrated? I'm happy, man, because we work so hard and we done a lot of things, to David. Well, not me. David, has done some mistakes that was a blessing in disguise, because he's very mature now. He's very disciplined. He's very dedicated. It's not frustrating for me. At the end of the day, I'm happy. I'm super happy because he's the 168 boxer most avoided for all these other fighters. That gives me a great feeling, man, that people don't want to fight David. So I mean, we're doing a good thing, and for me, that's priceless. That even the best fighter does not want to fight David. Tell me why. I just want to know why. Because he feels that David's not going to be an easy fight. So that makes me feel really good, actually.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You should be proud, because David Benavidez, like I said, he put the boxing on notice. Calling out everyone.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So I'm not frustrated. I'm happy because, man, I can't believe it. I'm like, whoa, all this hard work paid off. I mean, to be honest with you, that's more rewarding than any money. So we're here, and we're gonna keep working hard, staying focused, and hopefully new opportunities, new other fighters. Berlanga's coming up. He's making his way up too. So I think that will be a very interesting fight. And what I'm seeing right now, everything's building up. So what I see, David's going to be in the top if he stays focused and disciplined like how he is. And good things are going to come. He's only 24 years old, man. Two-time world champion. I mean, we just got to stay patient, stay relaxed, and just stay focused and working hard.
Well, your son was the first one to call out Berlanga. He off the jump, before we even heard of Berlanga like that. Your son was calling him out as a champion. He also called out Ramirez, I believe, another undefeated Mexican fighter. So, what's your thoughts on Berlanga fight? Yeah, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, what's your thoughts on the Berlanga fight in the future, now or in the future? Whenever it happens, if it does.
If he want to fight, if he wants to fight now, we could definitely make that fight. Also, I believe that he's like 24 years old, maybe almost 25 years old. I mean, look at all his knockouts he has. I think he's a really good fighter. He had a very good amateur career. He's making a lot of noise, and that will make a good fight. Actually, I would think that he's a little bit green now in the professional fight, because he hasn't really gone more than 2 rounds. He's been knocking everybody out. But I think that he should fight like Uzcategui, like somebody at that level, and see where he's at. Let's take him to deep waters and see if he can swim, But I think he's doing a great job. I think he has a fight coming up, and that's a good, decent fighter. And maybe 2-3 more fights. I think we could definitely, no excuse, we can get him, but we'll get him now, I think it's easier for us to beat him now because he is going to get stronger and better too. So that's going to make it a little bit difficult, but it will be a great fight. But I see that David can beat him with all the experience and what he's done in boxing.
Well, David Benavidez said he was going to stop him. He said he was going to knock him out, and Berlinga responded by saying that. And then, excuse me, David Benavidez said he going to stop him, and he called him out to fight. And he said Lubin also knocked him out in sparring. And then Berlinga responded by saying that David Benavidez is hating because he's getting all the buzz right now. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, who's getting out? I don't think he has more fans than David. If you look at right now, David Benavidez, he has all that buzz, that's going on. I mean, and it's good that he's getting buzz too, because that actually his fans and our fans will make a great fight. He got knocked out in amateurs also. I know him. I've been studying him too, because I think that is a fight that's going to happen. If he says that he really wants that fight, let's make it happen also. And I'm watching him. He's a good fighter, man. Don't get me wrong. He is a very strong fighter, young fighter, has a lot of balls, and I think it would make a great fight with his fans and our fans. But I think David has more fans. David has fought more times, and he's been a 2-time world champion. So why would David be hating on him? There's no fucking way,
Right. And David, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think David Benavidez is the youngest champion at 168.
The youngest in history. The youngest. We're the Hall of Fame in New York also, because he's on the record Guinness. So I mean, he's the youngest ever. So I mean, he must been doing something good. He won it once, and then he won it again. So I mean, and we're on the way to win it again. So we're working hard, and I think if he did it once, he did it twice. I think he could do it again. He's super young.
Yes, sir. Now, where does that confidence come from? I see you're proud of your son, as you see, people are embarrassing, embracing him as their champion. He told me about sparring Gennady Golovkin. You was putting him in there with tough sparring as a kid, 15 years old, sparring Gennady Golovkin, heavyweights. So is that where all the confidence come from? Just sparring the best from day one as a young kid?
Yeah, let me tell you where all this confidence comes, man. I come from Mexico. My father and my mother abandoned me when I was like about 3-4 years old. I never had nobody to give me love. I always wished I could hold somebody's hand. I was always crying for love. I wanted to feel how love felt, I came to the United States when I was 11 years old. I had to survive in life and sell drugs and rob people and do whatever I could, because I didn't know. I thought I just needed to eat, man. And I did things, that I wasn't supposed to do. But when Junior was born, I told myself, I got to get me a good job, and I got to move from California to Arizona, because I don't want to die and not be there for my kids. So I thought that, if I make them strong, nobody's going to abuse them like I went. I was abused. I was molested. I went through so many things, man. So when my kids were born, I just wanted to make them strong. I didn't know nothing about boxing. I wasn't looking for fame. I wasn't looking for belts, and I didn't even know they were going to be professional fighters. But I dedicated my time. I thought my life was over. I just wanted to help them achieve their dreams. And you know what I did? I thought I was doing the right thing. I gave them tough love. I never told them I loved them. I put them around. David was 2-3 years old. I made him run miles and work hard, because I thought if I die, who's going to take care of them? So and they just started winning and winning and winning, because they never had it easy, man. Nothing was given to them. I created monsters. I created animals, and now I regret all that, because then I thought I was going to give them love, like the love that I never had, but I didn't want to become weak. And because I thought I was going to die, like I said, so I said, before I die, I'm going to make them strong, so nobody can abuse them or nobody could take advantage of them, and I regret that now. And that's where I get all my confidence, because these guys are animals, man. These guys, they never had nothing easy, man. They since Junior was 5 years old, David was 2 years old. They had to run miles, and work hard. Let's hit that bag. Let's go. Let's go. Because I thought I was dying, man. So that's where I get all my confidence from. These guys are animals, So and you can see now, and I regret all that, not giving them love, but I still have time, and I try every day, to tell them that I love them, and what I didn't do when they were little. So that's where all the confidence comes from.
Yes, sir. Now, when you say you regret that, now it did make them champions. It did make them
But
champions.
but
You say you regret not showing them the same as much love. Is that what you're saying?
exactly, man. Um, I regret it, but here and there, sometimes, now it's hard for me to tell them I love them. I do tell them, that I love them, I hug them, but I wish I would have given them that love when they were little. And if you talk to them, tell me a little bit about your life when you were growing up. Oh, my dad would just, put us to run and work and do all these things. But ask them, tell me one time when your dad took you to the park and was playing with you. I regret all that, bro. I really do, but thank God, he's giving me more time, and now I'm different. Maybe I'm getting older, whatever. Now I'm becoming weak, but there's nothing wrong with that. I realize I learned how to become a better father every day, and now that I got my grandsons, and I try to tell them I love them, and show them that you got to tell them how much you love them, hug them, and spend as much time as you can with your kids. But me, it was just work, man, and like I said, I regret it. But at the end of the day, they're good people.
Well, now that do explain, because David Benavidez told me you had him sparring heavyweights at 12. So
Ah,
I was
I was crazy, man. Thank God nothing happened to him. I would not recommend this to any other father. David was 14. Let me tell you a little story. When David was, I'd say he was like about 6, 7 years old. I put him out there with another kid, and he was getting his butt kicked bad because he didn't want to do boxing. He hated boxing. So he thought, okay, if I let this guy beat me up, my dad is not going to put me there. Guess what I did? I got mad and I said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to take you out. You're going to have to defend yourself. And if you don't, you're going to go 4 rounds. It's your choice. If you want this kid to beat you up, or you're going to do something about it. And guess what? Once he heard that, man, he came throwing, and man, I was like, I didn't even recognize him. But that's what happened, and I did it, when he was 14, 15, sparring Kelly Pavlik, and at the end of the, but a lot of people don't know, but obviously I was taking care of them. If I knew if they were going to get hit and get hurt, I would definitely pull them out. But they were doing so good, man, that there was no need for that. And then I felt satisfied that I created these kids strong, and they could defend themselves now.
Yeah, and David Benavidez did tell me that he had somewhat of a time off when he was a kid because he didn't enjoy boxing too much. And then it kind of explains because that's how he kind of gained a lot of weight at one point. But also seeing Jose Benavidez, he was the one on the scene. I remember him when he was 15, 17 years old growing up. We never seen David Benavidez on the scene that much. And then out of nowhere, he exploded on the scene. So
Yeah,
that
he
kind
only
of
had like a day. He only had like a year off, and then he got really big. But even though when he was big, I was still training him. I wasn't pushing him, but he was still training hard. Uh, to me, the weight didn't really matter. He would still have to work no matter what, and that's why he was still there at the gym. Manny Pacquiao was training. I was in Freddie's gym, boxing gym, and he was still trained. When Junior was training, he was still there. Um, Doing his thing. Not a lot of pressure, but he had to do what he had to do still. But he only left for like a year. But all this other time he was training. He was not on the scenes, but he was training.
yeah, he didn't have a lot of amateur fights, but he was sparring a whole lot with champ.
He's been training since he was 2 years old, man,
Yeah,
nonstop. Only 1 year he took off. Maybe I would say a year and a half, but that's about it. But all this time, that's why he does what he does, because he was always boxing. No matter what, he was there all the time.
right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I got a super chat real quick. Kenny Salute fixed fights. Saul fixed fights and avoided tough matches like Andre Charlo, and now your boy. Salute to you for raising your boys with heart and true champions. Appreciate the super chat, my brother.
Thank you.
So out of all of the names, Canelo, Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Jermall Charlo, who is the toughest, in your opinion? That's like for your son. The toughest opponent for your son.
I would, man. I would. It's gonna sound funny to you or to a lot of people. The toughest that I think toughest fighter that when it came out that if we wanted to make that fight, I would have to say that it was Charlo, man. Charlo has a different style, man. To me that would be a tougher opponent for David. And like I said, it's going to sound a little crazy, but that's what I think. That's what I believe, that his way of fighting and his style will be a little bit more difficult than Canelo. And Caleb Plant, Caleb Plant is nothing, bro. To be honest with you, they're just trying to build him, and I think he will move a couple of rounds, maybe 5-6 rounds, and finally we'll catch him and we'll put him up.
So you view Charlo as the toughest, the most dangerous, and you still want that fight, and you push it for that fight the most.
Listen, once you beat Charlo or getting inside Charlo's with them in the ring, man, that would take us to another level, and then we could prove and we could show people where we at. It's a very dangerous fight, man. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you want those big rewards, you got to face these fighters that are very, very dangerous, I think. And we have no problem doing that because, like I said, now you know my story. And I think that David deserves a chance, and he has to prove where he's at. And then you'll see where David's at this point. And once he beats Charlo, man, there's no more questions with David. And if Charlo becomes successful too, I mean, it's a good fight for both of them to go to the next level.
That says a lot about David Benavidez. That it's one thing to call out Caleb Plant, but to call out Charlo, that the most dangerous stylistically for David Benavidez, it says a whole lot about David Benavidez as a champion. That's why everybody has so much respect for him, because, like I said, at the end of the day, or at least tonight, respect is earned, not given. And throughout all the names I threw at you, I know no one really mentioned David Benavidez's name, but who you think is going to step up to the plate?
Nobody.
Like, out of the bunch, you don't think like
nobody?
One, you don't think not like one that's most,
Nobody. I'll tell you right now, if these guys, of Caleb Plant is watching, Charlo's watching, Canelo's watching, no one. You know who's going to step to the plate? These other fighters that are hungry, like Ronald Ellis, and all these other fighters that, they're not known and they want the opportunity and they think they have a chance to beat David in order to be in the map. Those are the ones that they're willing to take that chance. But all these best pound for pound or really good fighters, where they at? They're running, my friend. They're running. I mean, we want to fight. I mean, like I said, these are good fights. But I mean, you can't make them fight if they don't want to fight.
Yes, sir. Now, I do want to throw this name at you. This is a fan question. They say this guy named Jose Real Valenzuela, as an amateur, supposedly stopped Teofimo Lopez in sparring. Is there?
Oh, you're talking about Jose Valenzuela.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me tell you the story about Jose Valenzuela, right? So this kid that I have, he's fighting this Saturday, actually. He's going to be on Fox. Guys, if you have the opportunity to check him out, he only has 6 professional fights, but I've been training him for like about 4 years. Actually, I kind of adopted him. He's like my other son now, Jose Valenzuela. So he's been living with us, with David. They're like brothers with David and Jose Benavidez Jr. What happened this time, Teofimo's dad was he was looking for sparring for Teofimo, and he wanted to spar Jose Benavidez Jr. And I told him, I think Jr. is a little bit too big for him, right now. But he said, no, we want to spar him. So, okay, sure. So, but I told him, hey, listen, I have this other kid. He's really good. I mean, a little bit lighter. He fights at 130 at that time. He was an amateur, but he's really good. I mean, try him and see if you like him. So he went in there with Jose Benavidez, and Junior was too much. He was too heavy for him. 2, 3 rounds, and he said, no, no, that's it, no more. So then he said, well, I told him I got this kid, Jose Valenzuela. So, Teofimo came out, he underestimated this kid. This kid came he's a left-hander. He caught him with the hook, boom, and he fucking fell. And I was like, whoa, we were like, what just happened? But I think that he underestimated him, right? So we were like in shock, and he was in shock. Everybody was in shock. So he went out, not even 30 seconds, brother. So later they were really mad, and like 3 weeks later, Teofimo dad called me and he says, hey, I want to spar your amateur kid. I'm like, that didn't really sound that good, but I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. I mean, I'm gonna get that experience. So they got in the ring, and my guy stopped them in 3 rounds, bro. 3 rounds. And so it was unbelievable. So Teofimo's dad got really mad. The cutman, what's his name? The cutman Diaz was there because he was working. He works with Teofimo for the cuts, and he was there. And a lot of people were there, man. And Teofimo's dad wanted to fight. Like he wanted to fight me. I'm like, what the hell? What did I do? I mean, like, but I mean, whatever. So we start arguing and doing all that, and he got Teofimo out of the ring, and finally, after Miguel Diaz told him, hey, it's not his fault, man. What the hell? So he apologized and all that, but he was really mad. And that's what happened. I mean, I don't know if he underestimated him or I was in shock the 2 times. But he did stop him 2 times in sparring, big gloves, headgear, and all that, man. But this guy is really good, and I think you guys should watch him. And he's undefeated, and he's been learning a lot. And he sparred with Jojo Diaz for his last fight, and then after that, Jojo Diaz was finished. He sparred with Murataya, that trains with Robert Garcia, another good fighter. And I just been taking him to spar with all these guys. What I did with Junior and David Benavidez, I've just been doing the same thing, sparring them with good fighters.
So yeah, this guy's your fighter. His name is Jose
Valenzuela.
Yeah, and he's your fighter. You train him.
Yeah, he's like my son now. Like I said, I kind of adopted him. He lives with us, and he's been with us for like about 4 years.
Well, we got to get some more information out of him. So he's what weight division does he fight at?
He fights at 135 right now, but if there's an opportunity, he's like 5'9", 5'10". If there's an opportunity to fight 130, he could also do 130, but right now there's no need. So 135, that's the way he's fighting at. And he's going to be fighting this Saturday in Showtime. I mean, Fox.
What's his record?
I think it's like about 6 and with 3-4 knockouts. Yeah. Undefeated.
So he stopped Teofimo Lopez twice.
Yeah.
That's a big statement. That reveals a lot. Now, yeah, can't wait to see him, man. Haven't seen him yet, but I've been hearing a lot about him. There's a lot of buzz about him. I've been hearing he's been stopping everybody in sparring. So I just wanted to confirm that on your end. So it is true. The rumors are true. This man is a beast. So we're gonna be on the lookout for the cookout.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I do have split decision questions. All the guests have to answer these questions. So I got to get your boxing IQ. Ali versus Tyson in a dream matchup, prime for prime. Who wins and why?
Man, I really love Mike Tyson. At the end of the day, Muhammad Ali also was one of my favorite fighters, man. But I would have to go with Mike Tyson, man. Mike Tyson was a beast, man. In his prime, he was a very, very exciting fighter.
Yes, sir. Floyd Mayweather versus Sugar Ray Leonard. Prime for prime. Pretty boy versus Sugar Ray.
Man, these questions are really hard, but if I had to pick one, I would definitely have to go with the fans are not gonna like this, but I would have to go with Floyd Mayweather, man. It's very difficult, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, your son picked Sugar Ray. Your son picked Sugar Ray. Yeah. So why you pick Floyd? Just curious.
Man, it's fucking that's a good defense, man. And look what he's done for boxing too, man. He fought a lot of good fighters, man. And at the end of the day, man, everybody wanted to see him lose and counting me, but he proved us wrong, man. And to me, he got my respects and a lot of people's respects. So he did fight a lot of good fighters. So in my opinion, I think that's why I choose him.
Well, I got another good one for you. Duran versus Chavez.
I'm gonna have to go with Chavez, man. Once he quit with Sugar Ray Leonard, man, I don't know, man. After that, no mas.
Okay, well, Pacquiao versus Salvador Sanchez.
Oh man, my fighter, Manny Pacquiao, man. I would have to go with Manny Pacquiao, man. Still to this day, man, that guy could give problems to anybody, man. His angles, and I had the opportunity to be with him at the wild card for almost 4 years. When my son fought like about in four of his undercards. So Manny Pacquiao.
Well, they do say you are who you hang with. So you think growing up, David Benavidez growing up hanging around Pacquiao, that kind of rubs off on a fighter.
I think that they see what they do, the way they carry themselves, and all the cameras and all that. I think it's a big motivation for any kid or anybody that's trying to go up, and the discipline. They get to see the discipline, the hard work, and all that. So it does help a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, before I let you go, I do want to ask you because you kind of shocked me with that Rayo.
Rayo Valenzuela.
Rayo. Okay,
You know what's
Rayo.
in English? The lining.
The Lightning. Okay, okay. Well, how old was he when he sparred Teofimo Lopez? Just for the record, how
I
old was
think
he
he's
sparring
like 21 now. I believe that he was like about 19, 18, somewhere around there.
So this was recent. This was 2 years ago.
Yeah, like about 2 years, 3 years. It was, the same time that we had the little beef with Caleb Plant at the gym. It was pretty much same times.
Well, okay, okay. So and so it is confirmed. Tio was professional, and your fighter
Was
was
amateur.
okay. Well, yeah, that says a whole lot, man. I can't wait to see him, and we can't wait to
Definitely.
see David Benavidez. Obviously, he working hard, calling out everybody. So we'll see who does step up to the plate. Pleasure having you on Split Decision for giving me an hour of your time, answering all the questions from the fans to and my own questions. So I appreciate you, Jose Benavidez.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I want to thank also the fans. Thank you so much for your support. Have a good night.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. So that was Jose Benavidez, guys. His son, he fighting. I believe his name is Ronaldo Alice, March 13th. So be on the lookout for the cookout this week. Jose Real is another fighter of his that supposedly stopped Teofimo in sparring. He's fighting also uh, this week, I believe, on Fox. Anthony Darrell is fighting for a title eliminator for Canelo Alvarez WBC belt. And then David Benavidez supposedly supposed to fight him as well to become Canelo Alvarez mandatory, but it's pointless knowing that Canelo could activate and petition for the franchise title at any time. Let me just give me a second, guys. So, for all the people that's tuning in, if you guys want to support a real one, if you guys uh, miss old school fighters, then support David Benavidez because at the end of the day, or at least tonight, he want to fight everybody. He want to prove himself, win or lose. He want to challenge himself. You heard Jose Benavidez say Charlo. He believes that Charlo is the most dangerous fight for his son. And guess what fight they pursuing the most in the media? Guess who they calling out the most in the media? Jermall Charlo. So it speaks a whole lot about David Benavidez and his mindset as a fighter. Like I said, respect is earned, not given. And with his mindset, that's the mindset to be a great in the sport is you got to take the risks that is going to give you the reward to be a great fighter and the champion of the people, which is what David Benavidez did. And, you know, you have to also respect Jose Benavidez Sr. for, you know, kind of basically making his son, you know, get it from the mud and get it the hard way. With that being stated, I'm gonna go ahead. I might pick up phone calls, but I am waiting for Bill Haney to pull up. I got questions for him as well. Just give me a second. I'll be right back. So the phone lines are open. You guys are free to call in. Oh man, hold on. How you doing, Aki? Who this is and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Aki? It's Kieran from Albany, New York.
Yes, sir. How you doing, my man? What's going on?
Not much. I can't hear you right now.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Okay, let me fix it.
Yeah.
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay, all right, sounds good. All right, well, I got let's talk about first of all, what's your thoughts on what David Benavidez about David Benavidez and Canelo, Charlo, and everything you heard from Jose Benavidez? What's your thoughts on him?
Um, Honestly, I kind of feel like Charlo could possibly, like, correct me if you disagree, he could possibly be ducking Benavidez, but I'm just not too sure. Like, I think it's a little bit too premature to say that, but I'm all for David Benavidez calling out all the smoke. He's a true warrior. He represents what true Mexican boxing is, and I think he's developing like a brand new school to make himself a better, example of like bringing the sport back to its old lineages. And I'm actually happy that his father is working extremely hard to make David that type of guy to lead the way and carve a new path for any newcomers that come into the sport to possibly look up to him to become a huge legacy, figure of that mindset.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the Jermall Charlo fight, if I'm being honest with you, I don't understand where Jermall Charlo was coming from. He called out David Benavidez a year ago, and then now all of a sudden, like I don't know, maybe he's David Benavidez confident that have him thinking twice, but it won't be considered a duck until September come through and he really pulls out. Like if he really doesn't step up to the table, if he does not fight David Benavidez come September, then he definitely avoided David Benavidez. So we're still waiting on him because all this, talk of vaccination, he can't be 25 years old. He's gonna look really silly when he fight his next opponent and they don't take no vaccination and they younger than 25, or he fights him at 175. It just doesn't make any sense. So like I said, the only thing is really looking bad on his end, because at the end of the day, he don't get the benefit of the doubt. You avoid David Benavidez, that will be Jermall Charlo's biggest mistake of his career. Because one thing for sure, they are both avoided by Canelo. Canelo avoided both of them, and he pretended like they don't exist. So you're not going to get the Canelo fight. Jermall Charlo could wait all he wants. He's not going to get the fight. The way to get the Canelo fight is like what Benavidez said. He said, we got to put ourselves in position. We got to fight each other. That way we could box him in. Like it's going to be too much pressure by the fans. The fans going to demand a fight, and it's going to be too much pressure for Canelo to avoid a fight. And David Benavidez is willing to take on that risk to fight Jermall Charlo, to put himself in position to make the biggest fights and to put pressure on Canelo to fight him as well. So I feel like that's the route to go. There's no other route. That Canelo is not going to pick Jermall or David Benavidez over Gennady Golovkin, Caleb Plant, or anybody at 168. He's just not. He will fight Errol Spence before he fight Jermall Charlo. He will fight David Benavidez. He will fight anybody before he fight David Benavidez. So they're going to have to fight each other. We know David Benavidez is one. He wants to fight. I mean, he pushing for the fight. He the only one that we could say he wants to fight 1,000%. Jermall Charlo, on the other hand, like I said, come September, few months before September, if he doesn't fight David Benavidez is definitely going to be a duck on his end. And I don't think he could afford that, being a fighter on the coincidental list. But I do want to talk about Shakur Stevenson. He came out and he savagely called out Oscar Valdez. Let me get what he said. Hold on, give me a second. So Shakur Stevenson, he called out Oscar Valdez. He said, "Champ, congratulations, Oscar Valdez. No, you know I've been calling your name for centuries. No more running, champ. Duck season is over. Top Rank, can we make the biggest fight at 130, please? I'm ready to dog walk the champ." So obviously, Oscar Valdez, he did mention that he been hearing Shakur Stevenson calling him out in the media. So he willing to fight Shakur Stevenson. He said he not ducking anybody, right? But at the end of the day, talk is cheap, because now it sounds like TO 2.0, because literally the next day, this is what Top Rank posted on their Instagram. They posted a picture of Oscar Valdez. They said, Oscar Valdez, he's silent the doubters. What's the next challenge to conquer? Question mark. And Oscar Valdez, he tweeted someone named Bandiado Vargas. Bandiado. Now, for the people that's not too familiar with this guy, I believe this man is the same guy that lost twice to Berlinga by knockout. So I don't understand, why is Oscar calling out and mentioning to fight someone that already got knocked out twice by Berlinga? Not Berlinga. Berchelt, excuse me. That got knocked out twice by Berchelt. Yeah, this man got knocked out twice by Berchelt. And we know Oscar Valdez just knocked out Berchelt. So it makes no sense for him to call out Vargas when he knows Shakur have been promised the fight, and they both pretty much agreed to fight each other. So Shakur took to his Instagram yesterday and he said, "Come on, Oscar, don't duck me again. Nobody want to see you and Vargas duck." So Shakur is on his tail. But what's your thoughts on Oscar? It took him a day to break his promise of agreeing to fight Shakur next, and now he's saying he want to fight someone that lost twice, not once, twice by knockout to Berchelt. What sense does that make? Can you make sense out of that?
No, man. Like, that's like saying, oh, well, Miguel Cotto, he avoided Floyd Mayweather at one division, but then when Floyd Mayweather finds him at another division, he's just going to duck him again for like a fighter that Floyd just beat. No, people want to see you fight Floyd. So compare that to Shakur and Oscar. It's pretty much like a Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather situation where he's making the excuse to say, well, no, I don't think that, me and you should fight right now. Let's just give it a couple more years when we're in, our primes. But to the very end of it, which doesn't make any sense, but it's just like creating an excuse after an excuse just to, lie to all the fans that want to see the fight, to make yourself not look bad for who you really are, because you really just don't want the smoke. That's basically how I'm looking at Oscar right now. And I just think Oscar, he could kind of duck Shakur. I've said this to many people, but Shakur Stevenson is one of the most dangerous fighters, as well as Devin Haney is. So I think the two of those fighters are going to be the most destructive fighters, bringing back the old lineages of boxing where, the best are always looking for the best fights. And, I take my hat off to Shakur for doing that, because, that's what boxing needs. And Shakur, he's becoming a real entrepreneur of the sport to call out everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that needs to be championed more. And people like Oscar Valdez need to be taken out of the picture.
Yeah, that definitely need to be celebrated in the sport of boxing. But, what's crazy is I don't know what Oscar Valdez is waiting for, because if he's waiting to make the fight happen in his prime, I mean, he at the end of his prime, he's 30 years old, so it's not like he's entering his prime. He ain't even a TO. He's 30 years old, right? Shakur is the one that's entering his prime. So if Oscar is waiting to be at his best is now, because obviously your prime in the sport of boxing is from 27 to 30 years old. That's when you are at your best. So Oscar Valdez, we already know he ducked Shakur Stevenson at 126 when Shakur was his mandatory. He said, I could no longer make the weight. He blamed it on the weight when we knew he could have made the weight one more time, but he just didn't want to fight his mandatory Shakur. Now Shakur is his mandatory at 130 for that WBC title. So he can't use that same excuse. And I really hope he does not, activate or petition for the franchise, the witness protection for the witness protection franchise. I really hope that's not the case, because that franchise is a better witness protection than the one 6ix9ine got. 6ix9ine might want to join that club, the Ryan and Canelo, and now Oscar Valdez NBF witness protection, because it's ridiculous at this point. For Oscar Valdez, it's so crazy. He, after the fight, like they always have their ways to fool the fans. Oscar Valdez, right after the fight, he mentioned Shakur. He said, listen, I've been hearing Shakur calling me out, and it's like, duh, even if you're on another planet, you know Shakur been calling you out. Like Shakur said, I've been calling you out for centuries. Ducking season is over. So Oscar, he acknowledged that, hey, you know, someone been calling him out, which is Shakur. And then he said, I ain't ducking nobody. I'm willing to fight anybody. I'm not ducking. So he already mentioned ducking, which reveals a whole lot. You know, he revealing too much of the truth, because he revealing that he ducking. You know, why would you say I ain't ducking nobody unless you really ducking? Because the next day he mentioned someone else not named Shakur, someone that already lost twice to Parental by a knockout twice. You know, so it's so crazy. When he was asked, he wasn't even asked about Shakur. Let's make it clear. He brought up Shakur. And they asked him who you want to fight next. He mentioned Shakur, and just like Tio, because when Tio was asked about Devin, Tio started shouting out Disney. He started shouting out ESPN, HBO, Showtime. Like, he's shouting out everybody. And that had nothing to do with the question, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're always trying to find a way out and confuse the guy who asked the question. So Oscar Valdez started talking about his camp, you know, been training for a whole year, haven't seen his family. Well, that's not what we asked you, though. We asked you about a particular person, you know, or your next fight, you know. So it's like, you already could tell, you already could sense it, but you do want to give the person the benefit of the doubt. You do want to give Oscar the benefit of the doubt. But like I told people, this man is not like someone that we don't know about. This is he an old duck. He already ducked Shakur, and this is, you know, the ducking season continues when it comes to Oscar Valdez. That's all there is to it, you know, because at the end of the day, one thing about Oscar, he dissed Floyd Mayweather. He said Floyd Mayweather, he destroyed boxing. That's why I can't find any legacy fights. And I'm like, are you serious? Because when Floyd was 23 years old, he was more accomplished than you are right now at 30 years old. So how can you talk about a man that's more accomplished than you? Because he fought 23 world champions. The same people Oscar Valdez look up to is the same people Floyd Mayweather destroyed. Canelo Alvarez, that's one of his idols. And we know that. What did Floyd Mayweather do to Canelo? As a grandpa, Floyd Mayweather spanked Canelo. Floyd Mayweather also beat Oscar De La Hoya. That was his coming out party and what made him a superstar. Floyd Mayweather made a living off beating Hispanic fighters. So you would think Oscar Valdez will want to return the favor against Gervonta and Shakur Stevenson. And these are his legacy fights. You know what kind of statement Oscar Valdez will put on the table if he beat the supposedly the future king in the sport of boxing, the future #1 pound for pound Shakur Stevenson, that has the most potential, that big one. You know what I mean? Like Shakur potential is the ceiling. The ceiling is the sky for Shakur. So you beat that guy, you automatically become the man. So Oscar Valdez rather duck him instead. So I guess Oscar Valdez, he rather be remembered for being a duck. He wanted to be remembered for being a duck than being a champion, because that's not how a champion behave. You know, Shakur Stevenson been promised the winner. Oscar Valdez know that Shakur been promised the winner, but he gonna go ahead instead of challenging himself like he did against Parental, because a lot of people doubted him. He said, right? So why don't you want to do the same thing against Shakur? A lot of people doubt you. Why don't you want to prove the same people again that doubt you against Shakur? You know, so like I said, I think he knows what time it is. I think he sparred with Shakur at one point. So I hope Shakur didn't put it on him and sparring too much, but he knows what time it is. Skills recognize skills. That's why he abandoned Mexican style when he fought Parental. This was supposed to be Mexican style. This was supposed to be them two going to war. He was holding. He was boxing American style. I thought he was Ali style. You know, I mean, he was moving around, going from corner to corner to corner to corner. So I don't hear nobody calling anybody running. You know, and I promise you, Shakur will go forward against Oscar Valdez, because he one of the unique fighters that he get hit less than Floyd. And when I say Floyd, I mean he get hit less than Money Mayweather and Pretty Boy. I'm talking about Shakur. And he throws 5 punches combination in the inside while evading shots, while avoiding shots, like he the Matrix. Oscar Valdez he know that. The American style that he trying to master, man, Shakur Stevenson got it in his pocket. So that's why he wants no part of Shakur, because skill, recognized skills at the end of the day, or at least the night. And we know Bob Arum is not the obstacle, because Bob said the second biggest fight in the sport of boxing next to Fury and Anthony Joshua right now is Oscar versus Shakur. That's what Bob is trying to push. He's saying it's the biggest fight at 130. Bob is saying he want to make the fight. Shakur came up to him, wanted to make the fight. He said at the end of the day, it's up to the fighters and their teams. If Oscar is willing to fight Shakur, then he could make it happen. But if Oscar doesn't want to fight Shakur, you can't put a gun on him and tell him, hey, you gotta fight Shakur. So Bob is not the excuse. Bob gave the green light. They are on the same, they fight under the same television. I mean, the same network, the same promoter, the same company. So it's a no-brainer for this fight to get made, but Oscar Valdez, he don't want to step up to the plate. It takes two to rumble at the end of the day.
Agreed.
And but hey, let me tell you this. What's crazy is they say when I push for Teofimo versus Devin Haney, when I push for Ryan versus Gervonta Tank Davis, when I push for Oscar Valdez versus Shakur Stevenson, people come at me and say I hate Latinos, which blows my mind, because I'm like, hold on.
They did that for me too.
Yeah.
They did. Like, yo, I'm black and Puerto Rican, right? Imagine if I said to everybody that supports, let's just say Edgar Berlanga, saying, hey, Edgar Berlanga should not be fighting other Latinos because he's just beating them up too easy, I would be laughed at. So, whenever I talk about any other fighter that should be fighting Berlanga at a high level, people try to tell me, oh, nah, man, you're just hating on Latino people. You don't stand up for your own people. You just want this person to be beat by some other better fighter, blah, blah, blah. No, I don't care what the hell you look like. I just want to see the best fight the best. And I think that, for some odd reason, it seems like that the sport of boxing is the only sport in the world where people bring, racial, political, drama to it, to make it seem like that just because that this fighter gets beat by another fighter due to, the color of their skin, that's somehow racist because, that fighter is just more gifted and skilled than the other fighter. I don't care if Teofimo loses to Devin Haney, but I do care that the fight happens, because Teofimo should not be ducking nobody. Nobody shouldn't be ducking nobody. I don't want to see any fighter avoid other fighters, because that's what drains out the popularity of the sport. And I think if that keeps continuing, that's just going to make the sport very unpopular, and then you're going to keep getting all these happy fans that keep preventing, bigger fights. And that's what will water down the sport. It's all about the best, versus the best. And at the end of the day, even if you lose, it's okay. You could come back and bounce. And like I said before, when they say, hey, you hate Latinos, for these people that do say that, just to show you how hypocritical it is, when I push for David Benavidez versus Jermall Charlo, they don't say I hate, Latinos. Why is that? Because they believe in David Benavidez. Because David Benavidez believes in himself. But Teofimo does not believe in himself. So they can't even believe in him anymore. They're like, oh, he must see something in Devin for him to not want to smoke. But see, with David Benavidez, he got so much confidence in himself. They respect that, and they rally behind him, which that's how you're supposed to behave, like a champion at the end of the day. But I'm talking about for the people that throw these comments in the comment section, it just show how hypocritical they are, because they don't say I'm hating Latinos when I'm pushing for the best versus the best. When I apply pressure on Jermall Charlo to fight David Benavidez, when I push for that fight, all of a sudden I'm not hating. I just want to make the best versus the best. But when I push for Teo versus Devin, when I push for Oscar versus Shakur, then now all of a sudden I'm hating. But how am I hating when we want to see the best versus the best? I mean, like in the sport of basketball, football is all about the best playing against the best. That's how you get a Super Bowl. You don't get a Super Bowl against a team that's been winning the whole time against a team that's been losing the whole time. That don't make no sense. Which is what Oscar Valdez trying to do, fighting this guy named Bandiado Vargas, somebody that already lost twice by knockout to Burchell. It does not make any sense.
So, like I said, it's just this is a further proof the double standards, and also just again, everybody want to be Money Mayweather. They want to make the Money Mayweather money, but they don't even want to put that pretty boy work. And even when Floyd Mayweather became Money Mayweather, he didn't just make money fighting nobodies. He had to fight the best. He had to fight fighters coming off their biggest wins. He had to fight the Cottos, the Canelos, the Pacquiaos, the Sugar Shane Mosleys. You know what I mean? Like fighters coming off their biggest win at the time. And fighters are not following that blueprint. They want to fight fighters coming off losses. They want to fight fighters that no one ever heard of and want to get paid top money. That's not going to happen. And that's not going to bring the sport of boxing to life. So with that being said, at the end of the day, like I said, Oscar Valdez is just making himself look bad. And like I said, he done joined the witness protection that Canelo Alvarez is the pioneer of, the franchise witness protection that Ryan Garcia is being a part of now. And maybe 6ix9ine will pull up because I believe Canelo witness protection is better than the one 6ix9ine got. But what's your take on Manny Pacquiao? Listen, I told people I don't believe he gonna fight Crawford. I don't see that fight coming to fruition because I've been hearing about it in the media for the past 6 years. I believe it when it comes to, once is a done deal. When I see it, I believe it, right? Now, news came out recently that Pacquiao requested $40 million to fight Crawford. And supposedly Crawford will get $10 million, right? Now, what I don't comprehend, what I can't get, what I can't understand is that how is Manny Pacquiao going to request $20 million to fight Crawford before the pandemic when there was a gate, and now after the pandemic he requesting 40, or during the pandemic he requesting $40 million? It's crazy because now it sounds like Pacquiao was kind of like just bluffing, and when Bob was catching his bluff, like he was telling him, yeah, we got that $20 million for you. Pacquiao like, oh, hold on. Oh, well, I want $40 million in. I thought when I asked for 20, Bob was gonna say no. Well, I want 40. It's like he wanted to hear a no from Bob when it came to that Crawford fight. Because why will he ask for 40? Like, I don't think that's even offerable to Pacquiao for a Crawford fight at this point in time during the pandemic. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Manny Pacquiao, he's full of it. I think Manny just needs to retire, man. He's just way too old, and I hate to see him get knocked out by a guy like Crawford or Spence if he's really trying to, bring him back to, the world title stage. But I just think Manny Pacquiao, he's just pricing himself out. And Crawford, he's just making himself look really stupid right now by just trying to pick this fight with Pacquiao. Because from my perceptive angle, it makes me think that Crawford's trying to get a win off of Manny Pacquiao so he could be closer to a 50-50 with Errol Spence. But it's like, if you want your 50-50, just go fight Ugas. It's just a simple, hey, PBC or Al Heyman, I just want to fight with Ugas. He could get that, set up, right away. Why isn't Crawford talking, about that?
I think Porter is more lucrative. I think Porter fight will be more lucrative, especially as his mandatory. That would be better than an Ugas fight to me. But I mean, Ugas did beat Porter in my opinion. But I just felt like what people trying to paint the narrative as Crawford avoiding Porter. I feel like he need to go ahead and capitalize on the moment. Now, when it comes to Manny Pacquiao, I do feel like he is too old. But it's not just being old. I feel like the 2-year layoff. Now, it's one thing. I think a lot of fighters were able to come off layoffs and it don't show. Like Floyd Mayweather is a perfect example. I think even Pacquiao, he had a couple layoffs. I mean, not that long, but he came and he always come back like nothing happened. Even when he lost to Marquez by knockout, he came back like nothing happened, right? So, like you see a guy like Keith Thurman, a layoff just affected him tremendously. And at 42 years old, Father Time is undefeated. You coming off a layoff fighting a Crawford, that's a suicide mission. Fighting Errol Spence, that's a suicidal mission. That's just my opinion. I think, man, a lot of people might say I'm crazy. I really think that even if Manny Pacquiao fight Mikey Garcia at this point in time, a lot of people forget style make fights. Mikey Garcia, he gave me flashbacks of Marquez stylistically for Manny Pacquiao. If Pacquiao fight Mikey, it's kind of like a Pacquiao versus Marquez 5. Because first of all, Mikey Garcia already sparred Manny Pacquiao in his prime. When Manny Pacquiao was in his prime terrorizing people, that's who Mikey was sparring at the time. And he's already familiar with his hand speed. He's familiar with his awkwardness. So I've been hearing about that fight as well in the media, but I think that's a dangerous fight as well. Because yes, Mikey is not the fastest guy in the world. Yes, Pacquiao has way more hand speed and even maybe more foot speed. But I believe Mikey has intelligent foot, for intelligent footwork more so than Pac-Man. But I think Mikey timing and power and chin, that's a dangerous combinations for Pacquiao, especially his 1-2 and his right hand counter. I feel like that's not a good stylistic matchup for Manny Pacquiao coming off 2-year layoff and being 42 years old. So I really think if Pacquiao can't get a Ryan Garcia fight, if Pacquiao can't get a Conor McGregor fight, if he can't get a Gervonta Tank Davis in the ring, it's risky. It's risky. And talk about the risk against Crawford. That's why he's asking for $40 million. And I think Bob Arum is going on with this negotiations to please Crawford, because knowing what he said about Crawford in the media, now he's going to have to try to please Crawford as much as possible to possibly try to resign Crawford. I truly believe that Pacquiao fight, if it does happen, is not just going to come easy. I think Crawford is going to have to extend his contract in order to get that Pacquiao fight. So that could be what's going on. Another thing, maybe he's just all blowing smoke. I mean, who knows? So we definitely will see. But I do feel like that is a dangerous fight. But what about Crawford versus Porter? What's your take on that fight? Supposedly, Kenny Porter pulled up on Bob Arum to make the fight happen. That an offer haven't been sent yet. It could go to purse bid, but it's a lovely fight, man. What's your take on Kenny pulling up on Bob Arum? And it seemed, respect to Porter, they seem to be serious. They asking for kind of a lot of money because they said starting negotiations. Sean Porter said that $2 million is an insult, knowing that he got $2 million for Errol Spence when he had a belt. So, that's kind of a lot of, that's too much of a demand as a mandatory. What's your take on that fight? And you think is that the most realistic fight for Terence Crawford at this point?
I would say yes, but I do think maybe for getting the 50-50 with Errol, if I was just in Crawford's shoes, I would try to go for Ugas and then fight Porter and then go for Spence. But if it has to be Porter, immediately, because if I'm Sean Porter, I'm going straight for my mandatory. I'm going to tell Crawford, hey, if you're going to fight Manny Pacquiao or some other bum that, shouldn't even be fighting you, you're just going to give up your belt, and then I'm just going to take it. So I think that Crawford, he doesn't want to give up Sean Porter yet, but he's just trying to find a better fight to give him more money, I would say. But I think stylistically looking at the fight, this is a very difficult fight to analyze. I think Crawford's gonna have the fight of his life. Porter is not a pushover. I've been hearing a lot of Terence Crawford fans trying to say that Bud watches Porter and Bud is just so talented to beat him. Probably 10 times worse than Errol. Had to dog it out with Porter. I highly disagree. I think Porter is going to give Crawford some issues. And if Crawford gets hit by one punch by Porter that gets him stumbling, I think Crawford is in really, really big trouble. I was even, listening to other channels that, actually thought, the same way as I'm thinking, about this fight. I don't think Crawford is going to stop Porter, some of his fans would say. I think Crawford is going to have to intelligently pick him out kind of like what Errol Spence said he should have done to Porter, but he was just playing by his own fighting style. But Crawford would just have to be defensively, educated in that fight, and he just needs to be careful from Porter's pressure. And if Crawford, stays on his P's and Q's, he'll definitely win the fight. But Porter, he's definitely a high risk, low reward type of fight. And if Crawford loses that fight, it's pretty much game over to try to get a fight with Spence.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. But I do think he is high reward at this point because, Terrence don't have anybody to fight. He's not going to be able to get any of the other PBC fighters, knowing that I don't think for that type of money they willing to fight him like Keith and them guys. So I think Porter is the only one that's going to be willing to fight Terrence Crawford for a fair amount of money at this moment in time. So with that being said, now one thing for sure, Sean Porter never really knocked out anybody. Like I don't want to say anybody, but what I mean is he don't have a knockout power. What Terrence have to be careful with Sean is making the fight ugly, pushing, holding, grabbing. But what people fail to realize is that Terrence is physically stronger than what people think. Terrence, he's a strong guy, and one thing for sure about Terrence, he is a knockout puncher. At 147, he stopped everybody, right? So I feel like that is slept on about Terrence because Shakur did bring something similar to that. He said that he believes stylistically, because, this fight could go either way. It could either be a difficult fight for Terrence Crawford if Sean Porter makes it an ugly fight and he's successful, or like Shakur pointed out, that most likely because of Sean Porter's style, Terrence could easily keep him on the outside, walk him to shit, same way he did with Jeff Horn, and keep him at bay. And with his power and speed and his strength, he really could keep Sean at bay. So it could go both ways because we know Errol Spence, he wanted to dog it out with Sean Porter. I don't think that was the smartest thing to do, but that's what Errol Spence likes to do. He an inside fighter anyway, more so. He could box, he could bang, but I feel like Errol Spence loves to fight more than just box. When it comes to Terrence Crawford, he's more of a pure counterpuncher with power. He a knockout puncher. However, he's just from a counterpuncher stand. So I feel like it's a stylistically a great matchup for the fans, and definitely it will give Terrence Crawford the respect he's been looking for at the welterweight division. Since a lot of people are saying he needs to fight a well-known name fighter at 147 that have been battle tested. Sean Porter did not win all his big fights, but one thing for sure, he was competitive in every single one of them. So if Terrence is able to dominate Sean, that will send shockwaves through the welterweight division and put a statement. That Terrence Crawford is the one. Because Errol Spence for sure he's number one welterweight, but Terrence is the number one pound for pound. However, people are gonna start questioning that. People are gonna say, well, listen, Terrence, the way he smoked Sean, put him as number one, and they're gonna put a lot of pressure on Errol Spence to fight him after that. So I truly believe that's the fight to make, in my humble opinion. But before I let you go, what's your take on Ryan Garcia? He came out and said that he said Devin Haney beats Teofimo. Devin Haney, he beats Gervonta Tank Davis. But he said, I beat everybody, including Devin. What's your thoughts on Ryan claiming that Devin will beat Teofimo and Gervonta Tank Davis? That's why they don't want to fight him. And that's why Ryan himself want to fight him last.
Ryan Garcia. Oh, man. Honestly, Aki, Ryan Garcia is the biggest prima donna fighter that I've ever seen in the history of boxing. I don't know why he's talking about Devin. I think he should be knocking on Devin's door to say, I want the smoke now if I'm Ryan Garcia. But I think Ryan Garcia is literally afraid of everyone. And he's just trying to talk just to keep himself in the mix. And for him to say that he could beat Devin. I don't know what planet he is actually living on. I think he's just very just dumbfounded to not understand the reality that Devin was pretty much right about what he said on your show. The reason why Tank wants to fight you is that he believes that you are the weakest link out of the whole division, including Teofimo. But the reason why, maybe Tank and Teo don't want to fight Devin right now is because Devin is very dangerous. He has all the tools to dominate every single fighter. And I'm not trying to, be dramatic about that. Just look at how Devin fights. He fights defensively gifted. He has a great jab. He has great educated footwork. His IQ is off the charts. Like, nobody is going to outsmart this guy. But for Ryan Garcia to talk down on Devin like as if, oh, nah, man, you're not that good. You haven't fought nobody like me. Then go fight him then, dude. Ryan Garcia is like just making himself look like an absolute girl, just whining and complaining. But it's like, dude, if you're about that smoke and you're about that action, go knock on that person's door to get that work. But no, it just seems like Ryan, he don't want that work. So guess what? When Devin comes knocking at your door and everybody's going to be looking at you to be like, hey, why aren't you fighting him? You said that you were going to fight him last. Guess what? Who's going to be at fault? Is it going to be Devin's fault or is it going to be your fault? And I think at the end of the day, Ryan Garcia is going to be looked at as the biggest fool in boxing. And I would really hope he could change that energy very quickly. But I think Ryan Garcia is going to continue being the biggest liar and the biggest dramatic, just basically prima donna, like I said, to just keep making up, bullshit stories back and forth and not wanting to fight his contemporaries.
Well, I did find it interesting, like you pointed out, that Devin told me that Ryan is the weakest link. And then Ryan says Devin is like the toughest out of the bunch. So it kind of threw me off. I'm like, oh, hold on. And then he said he wanted on another interview. See, when you tell the truth one time, that's all it takes. Because on another interview, Ryan said, I'm saving Devin last because he my friend. No, you saving him last because you already said he your toughest fight. So you trying to save him last. And plus, like Tyson said, if that's your friend, well, help him eat. Y'all need to eat together. You know what I mean? But more so, it's just, it's so funny to me that Teofimo, he skill recognized skill. He know what time it is with Devin because he sparred Devin. Tank sparred Devin. They know what time it is. So that's why they want to save him last. But I believe Ryan, because he is Devin Haney mandatory, it's just a bad look on his behalf to say this is what Ryan said. Ryan said, if Devin, I could call myself a champion if I want to. Belts don't really matter. I could call myself a champion if I want to. Like, really? So I could call myself a champion if I want to, but doesn't mean I am a champion. I'm just fooling my damn self if I call myself a champion. I got a belt. I got a belt somewhere. I got a WBC belt myself, just like the one Ryan got. Does that mean I'm gonna go down on the history books as a champion? Absolutely not. Because that belt you could buy it from Walmart. It's the same as that witness franchise protection belt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has no meaning to it. It's a duplicate belt. So for Ryan to say, if I want to call myself a champion, I can. No, you can't. You got to earn your position to be a champion. You got to fight the champion to become a champion, or at least get the champion to surrender his belt. So if you want to become a champion, you can't just say, yeah, I'm a champion on Instagram, and then you believe, right, in front of Instagram, you're the champion of the world. That's not how it works. You got to fight to become a champion. You got to fight the champion as a mandatory to become the champion. That's how you become a champion. You know what I'm saying? So what Ryan be saying doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because he says belts don't really matter. Yeah, they really don't matter because you don't have one. But I bet you if you have one, then that's the only thing that's going to matter. That's what they tell Tio, because he have all the belts or 3 of the belts. But then when it comes to Devin, oh, belts don't really matter. You see what I'm saying? You see what kind of games they playing? So, like I said, if Ryan want to be recognized as a champion, then fight the champion. Or at least get the champion to surrender his belt like Devin did, because he's the boogeyman. But for you to say, if I'm just wearing this belt because it look good on me, belts don't matter, then why you got it on? Take it off. You know, so I just feel like Ryan is at a space right now where he got to really prove himself before making a lot of comments, because it does not make a whole lot of sense. And like I said, I think the biggest cap of the year, what T.O. and Ryan pulled in front of Mike, I think nobody going to be able to top that off. I think nobody gonna be able to top that off. He had Mike doing cha-cha, man. He had Mike dancing all over the place. He had Mike jumping up and down from joy, and all of a sudden he did a U-turn. So I don't think nobody gonna be able to top that.
Yep.
Yes, sir. But great talking with you, my man. Always great, chopping it up with you. I'm gonna talk to you later. All right.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
All right. Adios, brother.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Just give me a second. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, hold on. I'm going to get a charger, brother, for this phone. Charge up.
Yes, sir. We got you.
Oh, shit.
I want to turn on the light.
You know, we can't legally call this ketchup, but this just looks sus. Tomato condiment. It's got a hot dog on it.
All right, hold on 1 second, bro.
Yes, sir.
Hey, brother.
Yes, sir, Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
That's good. Hey, we got to get your take on this real quick. Now, we spoke last week or 2 weeks ago, and T.O., he said that the reason he fighting Compost is because he's going to make up, up to 10 million. That's why he fighting him. Come to find out, Bob only offering him a bare minimum of 1.25 million. Now, what's your thoughts on that?
Like anything, I've always said that, once you start lying, you're gonna have to keep lying, and things are starting to catch up with Teofimo. You know what I mean? He's running out of lies. The alibis ain't matching up. 1.25 is far away is far away from 10 million, isn't it?
Yeah, way too far. I mean,
Yeah.
You might win the purse bid now. I really got confidence you're gonna pull this off.
Yeah. Well, the more that they put it off, the more money we gonna get. You know what I'm saying? And be able to give. So, Teofimo and his dad will be really upset if they was working for us come during that fight, when that fight does come. I don't even know what date it is.
Yeah. So is the rumors true that he gonna be on Devin Haney undercard?
He might be. He might be. I mean, we wouldn't want to overshadow it. We would still keep him. We would still keep him on the. We would still keep him the main event, and me and Devin would be suited and booted, sitting in the promoter seats.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, Bob Arum said Devin need the big fight to land the Teofimo Lopez fight. He said the fight with Linares will earn him a Teofimo Lopez fight. You think Bob will keep his word and not move the goalposts further?
Well, I mean, I was looking at it earlier today, and I just played it on one of the other shows where Bob Arum had said that the mandatory for Lomachenko would have been Zaur Abdullah, someone that Devin got rid of in 5 rounds. So, you know what I mean? I don't have a whole bunch of faith in what they have to say, but I do have faith in the people and what the people's demands are, because the fans are the ones that write the checks. If the fans don't get behind it, then the network doesn't get behind it, and the promoters are forced to put the fighters in that the fans want to see, or forced to pull the fights that the fans don't want to see. So I have all the faith in the world in the people. The people have been great. They have been very supportive in trying to make this fight happen. I always give props to both the Lopez's in terms of being great at what they do. I just always reiterate that there's something special about Devin and our team. Something that just comes around, every once or one or two lifetimes. So, I have confidence in the pressure of the people more than I have confidence in Teofimo Lopez doing the right thing.
Well, speaking about Devin being confident, having the skills to pay the bills, Ryan Garcia said that he believes Devin will beat Gervonta Tank Davis, and he also believes that Ryan will beat Teofimo Lopez pretty easy. And he also mentioned in the past that he believes Devin it will be his toughest fight. So it's ironic because Devin said that Ryan is the weakest link, and you hear Ryan say, the opposite of that, which is Devin is the most dangerous. What's your thoughts on Ryan Garcia comments?
Well, I mean, when you hear something like that come from a fighter, I appreciate it. Of course, I have appreciation for it. But when it comes down to it, that the fans, they want to see these fights happen, and we don't want to give compliments and do all these things and make friendships when we're in the fight business, and making the biggest and the best fights happen is what these young men should be doing. When you talk about fighting a Manny Pacquiao, for example, then if you can fight Manny Pacquiao, then of course you're ready for Devin. So him actually giving him the compliment, we appreciate it, but it's bittersweet because ultimately, the history that they have, I know that the people want to see the fight.
Do you now wish that maybe Devin should have slapped Ryan that night?
Absolutely.
Well,
but you know what, Aki? The thing is, though, that the fans, as much as we love the fans, we know that the fighters are the ones that show respect for Dev. They show respect in the sense of they don't fight him. They don't ask to fight him. They say everything but fight. And to us, we know when you're not asking and you're not pushing for the fight, you have a level of respect for Devin for something, one thing or another, whether it be, his speed, whether it be his IQ, whether it be, his footwork. Something about Devin makes these fighters, show him the respect in the sense of they don't ask for the fight, or they don't demand the fight, I should say.
Right. Now, Tio, he claimed that the IBF forced the Camposas fight mandatory. That's why he not fighting Devin, or that's why he couldn't fight Devin. But Tio manager revealed that the IBF did not force the mandatory. They could have fought Devin or anybody else by requesting an exception to fight one of them guys. What is your thoughts on that? Teofimo is just pretty much like every other day. Everything he said is turning out to be false or not true.
Well, absolutely. Because not only was he able to fight Devin Haney, but his promoter said that he colluded with Cambosos behind the promoter's back. So he took the liberty to negotiate with an opponent that the world quite honestly doesn't want to see him fight. They want to see him and Devin. You know, that's the fight that the people want to see. So if you would have colluded with anyone, it should have been colluding with Devin Haney.
Yes, sir. Now, what's your reaction to Teofimo Lopez? His response to turning down $4 million to fight Devin and taking $1.25 to fight Composis or around that number. He said, and I quote, "I'm the biggest duck in the world of boxing. You guys going to see it when I fight Composis or during the purse bid." So, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that was the first step in Liars Anonymous, is that, you know, you admit the truth. And I think when he came out of the class, his first thing was to do the video and announce that he's the biggest duck in boxing. And I think it's settled in that he was starting to tell the truth, and then he just started back lying again.
Right. Now, I mean, some people say, "Oh, he was being sarcastic." Have you ever heard a fighter call himself, "I'm the biggest duck in the world," being sarcastic? Can you name me anybody that was being sarcastic, calling himself the biggest duck in the world?
Again, brother?
Yeah, hold on. I said, yeah, can
I'm
you
in
hear
the
me now?
show. Okay, go ahead. Ask me.
Yeah, I was just saying, a lot of people say that he was being sarcastic. Do you know any fighter in history that said, "I'm the biggest duck in the world," while being sarcastic?
Well, this is the hurt business. I think I'm getting an echo, strong echo, but this is the hurt business, my brother, and playing and sarcasm is you know what I mean, is something that you don't tend to see in the fighters. You know, the promoters, we joke, and coaches and trainers, but when it comes to a fighter, you know what I mean, I'm used to a different type of energy, similar to the Gary Russells of the world, you know what I mean, who are not being sarcastic, but are actually, you know what I mean, talking the shit that you like to hear fighters talk. I don't think any of his fans or even Devin's fans, like to hear Teofimo say that he's the biggest duck in boxing.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate you for pulling up on Split Decision. Thank you for always pulling up when we need you. We're gonna have you again whenever Devin Haney next fight is official.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And I appreciate always coming on here. One thing about you is is we get down to the truth. You know what I mean? That's what separates your show from a lot of the other shows, is that you speak the truth. You know what I mean? So I want to
truth now. The
undisputed truth, brother. And you always let me do me. You know what I'm saying, on here. So I appreciate you. You know what I mean? And shout out to all the other channels. Dante. Boxing Ego. Trill 7-8. Shout out to all the channels who have been supportive. In the terms of just trying to make this fight happen. People want to spin the narrative as if it's a hate campaign against a TO, when I think that it's the total opposite, because a lot of the channels that I go to, was total support of TO against Lomachenko. So, you know what I mean? I just, I appreciate all of you guys, man, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. And definitely, it ain't a hate campaign, because T.O. be willing to fight Devin. This is what T.O. promised the fans, So
absolutely.
And thank you, Trill.
Right,
thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. And my computer about to die. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. That's Bill Haney for you guys. Knocked out two birds with one stone. Subscribe below, and to be continued on the next episode of AKHi TV. Peace, and we out here.